Okay. Are you guys able to hear in the back? Because I am pretty loud. Okay. I'm going to tell you a couple of things. One, I am Lance Gibbs. I am the director of several things at a lot of other schools. You've probably heard recently that I'm now in charge of math also, so I have science and math curriculum. I'm gonna ask you, and I think Teresa would tell you the same thing, that for the most part, anything that I do, if you ever feel like you don't understand why we have done something, then please ask, because I promise you we collaborated. We have talked to people, but in a district of 15,000 kids, in a district with 1,500 teachers, you may not be the one at the table, but you definitely have been, teachers have been included. So with that said, I think everybody knows that math standards have been a I can't come up with a word I can speak, right? Okay, it's been a challenge. It has been a roller coaster, okay? And probably April, May, and June were really interesting in the fact that we didn't know for sure what we were going to do. And we met over and over again at the board trying to determine, if we don't know what the standards are and we don't know what we're going to be tested on, then how do we tell teachers what we expect? How do we know what they should teach? And if we're going to buy textbooks, should we buy textbooks now knowing that the standards are going to change and those textbooks won't represent the standards? I mean, there are just too many question marks in that whole picture. And so we were trying to wait, knowing that waiting sometimes causes you to drown. So we were very concerned about that. But what did happen is that we have been given the standards. We know what the standards are. They are in place. They have been approved. We all know that. We know what we're going to be tested on. That PASS is gone. PASS is no longer in place. And that the Oklahoma academic standards for math and science, all the Oklahoma academic standards will be tested in the fall. And then now the question is how do we move forward with that? Now, clearly, there are no textbooks out there that are going to address these new standards for Oklahoma. Everybody agrees with that, correct? Okay. And I think most people would recognize that Oklahoma is kind of on an island, and that if I'm a business like McGraw-Hill or any Pearson, any textbook publisher, my goal is to make money. And so the states like Texas and California that do statewide adoption, those are the schools that I'm going, or the states that I'm going to focus on. Okay? Are our standards the same as Texas? No. Are they the same as California? No. Okay? And there are major departures from our standards. And it's more clear in science, but it's clear in math as well. So what we have done is we've partnered with Alpha Plus. Alpha Plus has had a vision for a long time. You can go back and look at data. I know for the last 12 or 13 years, and probably much longer than that, but when schools have been placed on priority list, they have been in a position to help those schools. I wanted to say Bishop, that's not correct. Flower Mound, Central High, those are local schools that had been on the list and immediately are off after they utilize Alpha Plus in their programs. Now, clearly, those were in the past days, and past PASS, not, and I guess it was past also. But what Alpha Plus did this summer is recognizing that we have new standards, new tests, new blueprints, was write textbooks and resources that are by Oklahoma teachers, written by Oklahoma teachers, for Oklahoma students. And so we vetted those last week, and we invited 4 teachers from each grade level. Would you go to that Word document there, please? 4 teachers from each grade level. We had, and we utilized the LCI list as the way that we did that. We had 10 of our 17 schools represented. That did not include Learning Tree or Beginnings, mainly because there's not a pre-K textbook at this time, but okay, but that's why we did that. So 10 of 17 elementary schools were represented, and 6 teachers that were there are present here today. Okay, and so that's going to help us. And then 1 principal. Shay Haveron was there. what I want to do just quickly, because we're moving this direction, so I want you to know where we're going, why we're doing it, and it's all happening very quickly, so it's important that you know what we're doing. Again, we had teachers there. We had, I believe it was 19 total teachers there for the elementary. We looked at the Alpha Plus textbook, the resources that were there. We described those. We had the teachers that, a couple of the teachers that wrote textbooks are LPS teachers. The teachers split up into grade levels. They looked at those books, looked at the resources, evaluated them for the content and the alignment to the Oklahoma Academic Standards for Math. The teachers liked the pacing guides that I think you're going to get to see today. They liked that they were developed using teacher input. I mean, and that's one of the things I'm telling you and I'm asking you, is that if you ever think there was not teacher input, please say so. And if I didn't use teacher input, then I'm going to back up and we'll work that. I mean, then I'm going to go, because I've been out of the classroom too long, and I think we had this conversation earlier. Well, we won't talk about it, Teresa, anyway, but we've been out of the classroom too long. We're not the classroom expert. We had this conversation last week. I am not the science classroom expert. I am not the math classroom expert. You are the teacher. You are the boots on the ground. You are the one that has to take these resources and make it work in the classroom. So that's how we see that. So hold me accountable, and I will do that. Teachers like the textbook because we believe that as that leader in the classroom, the textbook is a guide. It's not us telling you what to teach every day. It's not us saying, here's your pacing guide, follow it to the letter every day, no questions asked, right? It is, you are the expert, you need to figure out how to make this work, okay? And then teachers like that the textbook is a living document, meaning that it's going to change year to year. It's not you get a textbook in 2001 and you have to use it until 2017, right? It can be updated every year. If these are print copies or digital copies, they can be updated every year and we can cheaply replace them, okay? So 100% of the teachers that were present wanted the Alpha Plus textbook. They liked the concept, liked where it was going. And so today what I was going to add to that is we've went through those documents, and there were some concerns that were addressed there, and I want to make sure that those concerns are out there so that you don't think it was all roses. One was that there were some questions about the order of the standards. One particular was 5th grade, that the place value should be first. We don't have a problem with looking at those standards and saying, you know, moving forward, we need to change some things. Well, that's fine. We all agree that, you know, this is the first edition, and I know that the 9th edition of the Jen Colley physics book is completely different than the first edition, because you change based on need and based on the education. So, and Alpha Plus has been very clear that those changes would be easy to do based on the fact that it's a living document. Teachers want textbooks when school starts. They go to press tomorrow. We have given them all of our numbers in terms of how many teachers are in each building, how many at each grade level. So those are going to press, and they have promised those by August the 1st. To the district, and so we're working on having those boxed by building, and that way we can get those distributed right after that. I haven't actually asked Jan this, but I was talking about the potential of having a PDF version even this year. We could scan them into a PDF version as long as it was protected with the copyright and everything, so that if you had iPads, there are several schools that have that, Pat Henry in particular with 201 iPads, where there might be some availability for us to work into that digital side that wouldn't be available, so we could test the waters there. But anyway, we'll look into that. Teachers want an online version. There's not one now. That was for next year, because that's another level of writing, but the PDF piece is something that we're going to look at and talk about. Teachers indicated that they wanted to see boxes around questions, circles and brackets around question numbers. Those types of things, those are easy changes. Those are things that you make suggestions, and based on my experience with Alpha Plus, they're going to come to the table with teachers and say, hey, that makes sense, or this is why we did it that way, and then come to some agreement about what to change, what not to change, that sort of thing. So again, giving feedback is no issue. Teachers requested that we make grade level text available, meaning if I'm a third grade teacher, I need to be able to see the second and the fourth grade book. So what we're going to do is print or make available those copies in the library, so there'll be a library copy of the other grade level textbooks. That's the best I can do right now. I mean, there may be some other option with the PDF version, but that's another discussion that we're going to have, okay? Teachers want online resources. Okay, clearly, if we get to an e-book and you guys are all giving input, then there's the option for us to add those to the textbook. We know that. We're working on the website, and if you go to Google Chrome, if you go to departments and then down to curriculum and instruction and then go to science, right now this is what this page looks like. Everybody here knows we're fixing to go to Apogee, so all this is changing, correct? Okay, but there will be a science web page. There's going to be a math web page, and those are going to house all of our resources. If you scroll down, right now just click on a second grade. And if you scroll here, you're going to see there's the framework, there's progression charts. All of these things are present for teachers. We've sent this out multiple times, but these things are there so that teachers can see what's going on in second grade, what's going on in fourth grade. So as a third grade teacher, I know what they've been taught and where they're going. I can kind of see what's happening there. So the other thing is we have worked all summer building resources to add to this site. We're partnering with Edmond. I think it's Putnam City, and then the State Department has a group of teachers that are working so that we can share all of those resources on our site. We're going to do something similar with that for math, but that's going to take time. But immediately, if you log on to ck12.org, go back to Google Chrome. Oh, did you close it? You closed it. Oh, my goodness. No, it's good. Boy, I tell you what, give up control.
And he's paying me a whole lot to do this.
Hopefully this will jump right up. How many of you are aware of ck12.org? Okay, I was hoping that the whole room would raise your hand, because we have put this out there over and over and over and over and over again, okay?
Science.
No, I was going to ck12.org. I don't know why it's not going, so. I'm sorry, I'm hurrying. This is it right here, if it'll go. Okay, so if we go to and this went to the, okay, if you go to ck12.org, if you go to this school site here, there's schools all over the country that teachers have written OERs. They're open education resource textbooks that you can utilize. Those are resources. Okay? We're looking at some of those. We have a number of those already. We have 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, physical science, biology already on our website that are PDF versions that we're using for class. We're vetting chemistry, zoology, and anatomy, physiology now to have those on our website. And then we'll look at some of the other textbooks for elementary and math and that sort of thing. But if you go here, there's simulations that you can do with your kids. They can play online, whatever. And then in math, if you go to grades 1 through 5, you can find tons of activities that go with each different level. I can do it by grade level. Now remember, how are these going to be split up? By Oklahoma standards? No, by Common Core standards. But the thing is, you're smart enough to know that addition and subtraction facts are, I mean, you can go, these are easy to find, okay? And then what's really cool is that if you play with this just a little bit, there's an app on a cell phone. How many of your kids have these? My 4-year-old grandson can get on this and do more than I can. But anyway, but they actually, there's a game on here through CK12 where they can play and go to mastery on these. It's ridiculous, okay? They just log in. It's pretty cool. So that being said, all of that information was taken to Ed Services last week. The fact that teachers bought in, teachers believed that it was great as far as Alpha Plus is concerned in those textbooks, then we voted that we would implement Alpha Plus pre-K 5 for a number of reasons, but I think we've got them all out there. Do you have any questions about that? Yes.
In this textbook, are the embedded assessments, or is that included?
What do you mean included?
It's built into the textbook itself.
Say that again?
It's built into the textbook itself.
Okay, because I know some of us might have done some Title I proposals for embedded assessments. We don't want to buy something that's been purchased by the district.
Right.
So that's math only.
Math only. And this is Casey Smith,
Yes.
correct? And Casey was at the meeting last week, so she was part of the vetting process, so she was able to see that. That's why she's able to answer the question. Any other questions? Let me do this. In the room right now, Brandy Arter, Peggy Bilbrey, Tanya Bond, Sharon Havron, Kristen Mast, Casey Smith, Pamela or Ella Snavely are all here, and they were in that meeting last week. Do you guys have anything briefly you'd want to say about Alpha Plus textbook?
I do. One of the things that with us recruiting so many new teachers, retention is a huge issue, and having students being so transient, I can interpret a standard one way, and the same standard can be interpreted a totally different way in a different classroom. With the textbook that we're talking about piloting, it's black and white. The standard is printed on every page to include the independent and guided practice for the kids to take home. The parents now see this is the standard, this is what the kids expected to be able to take out of the activity. And for every standard, there is a 50-question embedded assessment book that comes along with it. With the brand new teacher coming into the classroom, basically it's making her life a whole lot easier and not having to go out and acquire resources that she really doesn't have right now. It's going to help us basically retain a lot. The kid's going to retain, plus we're going to retain the body.
Okay.
It's a win-win.
Okay, and then, okay, we'll go right here because that's closer. Yes, ma'am.
Piggyback on what she said, with the way the textbook is laid out, it gives you such clear examples of the in-depth knowledge that you need to teach each standard. And to go back as a new teacher, knowing the way that the questions are going to be asked and the skills that they're going to need, I think it also makes it easier for a new teacher to find additional resources that they may need to go to teach that standard. You don't have to say, okay, here's the standard, but how am I supposed to teach it? You know, what kind of questions or what type of material that I'm going to look at. You've got clear examples that you can use to find other, resources to supplement that if you need to go back and reteach it.
Okay.
I like the way that it's laid out, like they have said, you've got the standard there, it's right there for you. And they've got the way you present the lesson, a way you can present the lesson. And then it's got the guided questions there. There's 5 guided questions so that, and then a teacher knows if they need more. But that's a place for you to step off, and that's a place for you to go. And then when parents see that, they know what it is that you're expecting. And there's 10 independent questions. And so you can give them that. Once you see that, you'll know if you need to go further. And then, like they said, you'll be able to get the resources that you need because you'll know where you're going. You'll know where those content limits are, how deep you need to go with each one. And then there's also a comprehensive review where there's just 5 questions, and it goes back and reviews things that you've taught before. And it's got the standard. So if you didn't do them in that same order, you can still pull some of those standards, or you could even use them to see how much prior knowledge your students have going in. So however you want to use that, but there's 5 questions there for that. Right. So the way it's laid out is very teacher friendly, it's very student friendly, and the fact that it's written by Oklahoma teachers and goes directly according to our standards, everything you said up here, and the fact that we have input. And, so if there's something that you see and say, well, I'm not sure exactly, or maybe I'm looking at it a little differently, you have that opportunity to give input. So I think the entire process is just wonderful. It's brilliant.
Good. Sharon Havron.
I just think in the past, many teachers didn't understand blueprints, what they meant. Alpha Plus has been research-based for, Jan, I don't know how many years, the 14 years ago at Sweeney, it was used. And the rigor has always been present. And that's, I think, where we fall short. We spend too much time on something that may have a minimal amount of relevance as far as scoring would go. They've done all that work. They have done the depth of knowledge. They've aligned the blueprints to match the depth that you need to go into a standard or skill. And when you look at the independent practice, you know, those kinds of things too, if you don't need to do 15, that can be one bell work problem the next morning. So in a working, living document, I just think the accountability pieces is in their first rodeo. So
Right.
every school, Jan, that I know of has always gained and had improvement.
I want to speak real quickly to the elementary principals, because everybody that's here, and even you teachers, remember the grade levels that are here are 3rd through 5th. Okay? And the reason that you're here is because typically 3rd through 5th are the ones who get all of the data, get all of the testing, get all of the assessment information, that sort of thing. And what was huge when we were there for K through 2nd grade teachers is they said, we're going to get data. They were pumped about the opportunity to have the same kinds of data and feedback that you get with their level of teaching and their kids. So that was a big piece that came out throughout that. Yes.
On the textbook, what I had wanted to say with the students on the problems that it gives them, a lot of times you are teaching a new skill and the student's like, well, when am I going to use this in real life? You know, when am I going to need this again? And one of the things that my group noticed is that the questions that are asked are real world examples where it's showing them, yes, you are going to use this skill later on. And not only that, it is also a great aid for new teachers if they don't know with the lesson plans, how to create the lesson plans. They can actually, just to start off, they can start off using this as their lesson plan and go forward. And later on, just use it as their teacher aid.
Okay. Two things. If I had the pacing guides in PDF format, then I could send those to teachers individually, or at least make them available on our website so that they would have them right now, because I think the only way we have them right now is this way. So if we could work that out.
So you need a PDF
Of the pacing guides, because that we need that in their hands even before they get the textbooks, at the first opportunity.
I think this young lady's on.
Okay, all right, very good. Okay. Are we good? I guess I'll ask you the same question I asked the team the other day. Do you have anything negative, any problems or concerns about moving forward with Alpha Plus textbooks for math at all? This is your chance. There should be somebody from every building in this room right now.
Do it.
Lance, when you said K2 gets data, is that just on a segment of teaching, or will they actually get to scan?
It's part of the text, having those assessments within the body of the text and being able to track those standards. No, it's not going to be the same type. No. We're not doing the same type of assessments where we're doing pre and post. No. But they do have the embedded test and that within the curriculum. Thank you for clarifying. Yes, Amy.
On those K2 assessments, as they're developing them, and the ones that we looked at, a lot of it because of the nature of the way it's set up, they are paper pencil type assessments. And one of the things we've been talking about is that for primary, assessments don't always have to be paper pencil. They can be observation and a variety of things that are developmentally appropriate. And so I know that our writers are looking at that, and they want our feedback. So as teachers go through the lesson, especially those primary, if they know of a way to assess a skill that's not paper pencil, Alpha Plus wants that feedback so that we can make sure that things are lining up for what those kiddos need to.
Right. I'm going to get myself in trouble. And this is what maybe you should. This is what we're doing for science, is that we're doing multiple choice cluster questions and we're doing common assessments. we have no choice but to teach kids how to take the test they're going to be taking, correct? And those are going to be multiple choice questions on a computer, okay? And there is great value in doing that. And if I can answer a question, letter C, and I had to do the work to get there, there's value in that. I'm not discounting that at all. But what I would hope that we're doing is encouraging teachers at all grade levels that kids show the process. Because I promise you, in the math standards and the science standards, the way that they're currently written, the way that if you do not teach a kid how to problem solve and how to step by step, and in the math standards it's got the bubbles where you have to do all of these different pieces to make one standard work. One piece is not a math lesson. If you don't do the whole thing, then you haven't taught the whole child, and it's not going to matter. If you teach them how to do the whole process, then they're going to nail the multiple choice piece. If you don't, then you're going to have a lot of kids hanging out because they didn't know, and they need the process to get there. They need to show their work to get there, to the point that I would have physics kids show me your work on your multiple choice test, not because I can give you extra credit, that's not the deal. It's so that we can see why you missed a question if you missed it. Is it a stupid math thing where you added 2 + 2 and got 5, or is it because you just didn't understand the concept? And that's the teacher's job throughout the year. Those are things that you can't just get from these multiple choice assessments. So anyway, I'm good.
On the embedded test, the questions are there, the test bank questions will be They're already there.
Okay, you can kill that.
There's also student response, which will allow, there are going to be some of those, which will allow the problem-solving thinking process to be evident for the teacher to see where they may be missing something. And I think that would be highly helpful as well, when and if we move to response answers at some time on testing.
Okay, I apologize. I think I told you I was commandeering 10 or 15 minutes, and I think I'm 20 in, maybe, or even worse. So thank you very much for your time. We'll get the PDFs out to all your teachers, and we'll have the textbooks August the 1st, and we'll deliver those to your schools the 2nd and the 3rd.